All right, sure. Curriculum design model by Tina Francelis and Leticia. Our goal is an engaging, fun, standards-based, objective-based delivery of content. And how we hope that it starts, just like the other two groups, a driving question. And that driving question is derived from the theme game. So maybe listed on any of those papers that we went through. For example, what is change? Why is the precise measurement important? We start with exactly how the other two groups started, with this driving question. Essential questions can muddy up the discussion. Driving question shows us kind of like that it's going to steer us toward that lighthouse. So we wanted to drive the work, not limit us by getting stuck on the language of essential question. And all of that right now out there includes for that word.
Yeah, then we were talking about like essential questions, like and Tina's talking like I was really meticulous before, like how it has to be written, and we're like, well, maybe we should go towards driving question, that it can be very like it doesn't have to be precise, like it can just be like, what is change? What is a robot? Why is precise measurement important? Like it doesn't have very, very broad. Just to shape our thinking.
So then the driving question has to be guiding our objectives. What are our learning objectives based off of that question? What are the objectives that this question can lend us entry into? And then using all disciplines, we can state the learning goals, standards to be covered, and essential driving questions of that unit or module. Because this is not, this plan is big picture going into the smaller ones. And you'll see first, a driving question, next, all disciplines entry into that driving question, including the standards and everything else that's connected.
So like Melanie was saying, like, you have the driving question, and you're like, oh, with that question I can cover these standards, and so we can have these learning objectives all covered.
From there, we're kind of the same thing of the backwards design, of kind of following that model, the model of going back, what is it going to look like? You know, if students are working towards answering that question and they're going to be trying to meet some of these skills, things that they need to learn, what is it going to look like at the end? What are we going to be looking for? And what was earlier said, like the values, what is it going to look like? And coming up with parameters, because it might not be like, it might be just some specific, you know, general criteria for success or a rubric that says like, as long as they meet this, and that, they have to show it in some way, and that the way they show it might be different. So there might be some student choice in that, but that we all agree on this is what it's going to look like. How will we know if they get it or not?
And this word, I think, is very powerful for us to all envision this module with 7 doors into it, and the parameters for a project are what must be met. So we don't run every day behind them, but we have our main kind of chart that charts where every student is. And that's where the Montessori idea came in. Students in Montessori walk into a room and they have 17 choices, but they have to do all 17. Parameters would serve that kind of purpose, where you must, for each of our disciplines, meet this. This has to be included. It has to have a culture, an identity, a people, a group, and whatever, right? Those are the parameters for the project. And then from their personal interest, they enter any 7 disciplines, you know, they enter into the project building from any of the 7 disciplines.
So like with the authentic assessment, we don't want to be like, this is going to be the project that you're going to do, so
right.
that at the end we have 80 of the same projects. We want to be like, this is the driving question. We want to make sure that you demonstrate that you understand this, and that. And after that, go for it.
It must include these parameters, and then go for it.
Yeah, dive into whatever interests you or your group or whatever, so that we get different products at the end, but still meeting certain parameters.
And some of the parameters might be more involved and specific for freshmen coming in versus more relaxed and kind of less, you know, specific and detailed for upperclassmen. So there might be more parameters for, you know, beginner freshmen versus more experienced students.
So after that's been decided, then, so after we're like, oh, we can meet all these standards, we can have these goals, so then, and that might come up with the previous, but actually stating like, so with this driving question, so biotech, what is the content and skills that you're going to teach under this? Math, what are you going to teach? Am I going to teach exponents? Am I going to teach rational numbers? Am I going to teach solving quick? Like, well, I mean, well, or I like the facilitate, not teach.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the content I'm going to bring under this concept of change or this concept of measurement? Engineering, like, what am I measurement? Like, okay, so I want to go through fractions to decimals to scales, blah blah blah, and cells that you're saying the conversion and blah blah blah. So. There will at this point we'll detail exactly what is the skills, what do we want them to know, and what do we want them to be able to do.
That helps them fulfill the parameters of whatever the question that we're trying to answer with this objective in mind. Once you know the content and skills that you're trying to build on in order to teach them how to fulfill the objective or satisfy the objective and the answer the question, each answer is going to be different depending on what angle they took to answer it and what project they chose to demonstrate their learning. But once you have, they can't do that demonstration until you have implemented some way to teach them the content and skills that you identified as crucial to this process. So the next step is then we talk about what activities and lessons can you do and engage the students in to get them to their authentic assessment. And it helps to build the content and skills that they will need to demonstrate in their final presentation.
And we also touched upon like always linking every single activity to that authentic assessment. And sometimes we might do it in the beginning and sometimes we'll do it at the end. So in the beginning it might be useful to do it when you're like, this is going to be kind of dry for them and they might not be engaged, but for like, this is going to help you to do your authentic assessment in this way, so I need you to bear with me. So that might be the way. But then if you're doing something really creative, or a little bit, not a little bit more, hopefully it'll always be engaging. But if it's very engaging, then you can have them themselves decide reflect at the end, like, oh, how is this going to help me do my authentic assessment later on?
All right. Once we as a team have listed all of the ways, all the different things we can do, activities we can engage them in, all the things that we can cover, then we have to organize them. Well, how do we organize these activities to design what needs to be done in particular projects or combined, combined activities? What activities can be combined to have best impact?
Or I need to fix that
versus no, I don't know what that means.
We're talking about
logistics.
The logistics
in a particular order,
organizing how everything is going to be implemented, who is going to be responsible for the lead facilitator for different activities, doing that, and that's kind of like
okay, that's
where
what
we get to the point where we would kind of consolidate everything and figure out the actual logistics.
Yeah, like some are going to have to be done first. Some activities have to be done first to lay down the foundation. Some are going to have to be done in unison. Or some can be put into these 7 doors as completely independent. Maybe you do it independently in that corner. Maybe you do it independently at home. Either way, you present on 2 levels.
Learning.
Yeah,
it's on its learning. You need to
go access it. 2 levels, doing it interactively in activities that marry together and combine, or something that it can be done independently. But either way, all of those options will cover the content and skills, or both, that need to be addressed and taught and successfully mastered in order to have the best authentic assessment. We only have 1 minute left.
Okay, so at this point we need to organize that, decide what needs to come first, what can be combined, or what's independent. And then it's just actually implement the plan, And so we'll be, after you implement it, then we would evaluate and revise. So we go like, what part of this went well, what didn't go well, what do we need to change? And this triangle means that just this cycle alone, if you just did it that way, doesn't mean that you'd have anything based on projects. It might not be engaging. So we want to make sure that during these 3 steps, that we take it with the project-based learning lens. So we really like the 7 essentials of PBL, and most of the 7
ideals that were on the other side of
Yeah.
it. So like,
Yes.
21st century skills and things like that they use as part of their 7 topics there.
and publicly demonstrating.
And public performances and things like that. Okay. 2 minutes to write.